Hello, I'm Juliette Barrett and I'm a former teacher and head of sixth form. I'm now Head of Education at ROSPA, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. In my role, I work very closely with schools, teachers, local education authorities and the Department for Education and Skills to write policies for schools. In this programme, we'll be staying outside and looking at health and safety in school grounds. I'll be presenting my top 6 health and safety issues, and they're all of number 1 importance, so don't expect a top of the pop style countdown. It does mean you'll have to put up with me going on about what you should and shouldn't be doing, but by the end of it, you should know what you are already doing right and wrong. Those 6 areas will cover health and safety at the start and the end of the school day when risks arise around the school entrance and at the bus parks. I'll be looking at the subject-specific hazards connected with PE and how to reduce the dangers that come with building sites on or near the school grounds. I'll also be highlighting what needs to be done to keep pupils safe during break and lunch times. And finally, the importance of providing protection from extreme weather. And if you think some of my points are stating the obvious, then you're probably right. But it's amazing how often the obvious is forgotten or ignored. I want to stress from the start that schools are one of the safest places for pupils and staff, considering the amount of time they spend there. So I don't want to make anybody overprotective, just conscientious. Schools should have a health and safety committee, but everyone on site should take responsibility for ensuring risk assessments are drawn up for activities, codes of conduct prepared, and the correct procedures followed. Let's start with what can be one of the most contentious areas, the school entrance. The start and the end of a school day can be a very busy time. Large numbers of pupils moving in the same direction, either into school or away from school. The school should have a clear code of conduct about behaviour expected whilst entering and leaving the school site. Parents should also be aware of this code of conduct and know where to drop students off and where to pick them up from. Also, there should be a clear staff rota of supervision. Members of staff should be on duty before and after school to make sure that the children enter and leave the school site safely. Of course, buses, minibuses and taxis that come onto site present more problems at the start and the end of the day. All staff should know when they're on duty, where they have to stand, and also what to do if one member of staff is away. Also, children should be aware of what's expected of them, where to walk, where not to walk, and also to listen carefully to instructions. All children should be aware of a clear code of conduct to do with getting vehicles from the school site. And they also need to be aware of the consequences of their actions if they don't follow instructions. Problems can arise if buses break down or are delayed by the weather or traffic. So schools should make sure that there's a sheltered area for pupils to wait and contingency plans are in place in case transport never turns up. And remember, never let children walk out behind buses. They can be reversing and sometimes it's very difficult for the driver to see what's behind them. There are many benefits associated with PE, but there are also associated risks. Staff supervising PE activities should be suitably qualified. They should also be aware of any illnesses or injuries that students have before participating in that sport. Students should also be suitably equipped for that particular activity, whether that be trainers for athletics, football boots for football. They should also make sure that they're not wearing any jewellery that might cause injury whilst playing an activity. Playing fields should be regularly checked for hazards such as glass or sharp stones. Here, the checking is combined with a warm-up routine. Pupils should be counted before and after if they are likely to go out of sight. Size of groups should be geared to the activity. As an extreme example, don't take 30 Year 7 pupils out for a session of javelin throwing. Plans should be in place to ensure the safety of pupils not participating in sports. It's not advisable to leave them unattended in changing rooms throughout the lesson. Inside or outside, if new equipment is being used, pupils should be taught about its use and the consequences of misuse. Make sure there's adequate storage space for all equipment. All pupils should know what is expected of them, and there should be a clear code of conduct. The most important message to do with health and safety in PE is to make sure that everybody's aware of the code of conduct. They know what's expected of them, and they're actively involved in managing the health and safety of themselves and others whilst participating in sporting activities. Many schools are finding themselves located near to building sites, or there might be building work taking place on the school site. It's really important that young people are kept away from these building sites. One way of doing that is putting up a force field. If you can't do that, then it's really important that the correct fencing is in place, the correct safety signs are displayed, and also it might be a good idea to try and incorporate some building site safety into curriculum areas. It might also be a good idea to try and get the site manager to talk to the youngsters about the dangers of building sites, and also encourage them to actively play a part in raising the awareness of the dangers of working near building sites. This school, like many others, confines playing football to the playing fields. However, because of the nature of the activity, it does pose a higher level of risk. To ensure that youngsters can play football safely, there should be adequate supervision on the playing fields during break times and lunch times. Staff should know where they're on duty and when. Part of the site management should include regular checks on the boundary fencing to make sure none of it is missing or broken. And also there should be regular checks on the playing fields to check for broken bottles or glass. Also, students should be aware of the code of conduct. They should know where they're allowed to play and which areas are out of bounds. Students should also know where to go and get help if there is an accident or an injury whilst playing football. Duck! Schools should make rooms available indoors if pupils need shelter during break times, which brings me to my final health and safety issue for outside. One hazard we can't control is the weather. Contingency plans should be in place to deal with extreme weather conditions, such as excessive sun, maybe when children are out playing for large periods of time, either at lunchtime or break time. They need to make sure that they have sheltered areas where they can hide from the sun's rays. It also might be written into the school policy to allow young people to wear a school cap when it is sunny weather. Another extreme in weather that we need to manage is very heavy rainfall. Suitable areas should be provided for young people to shelter during break times and lunch times. Again, it might be written into the school uniform policy to allow young people to wear a waterproof jacket during lunchtimes and playtimes. Suitable indoor areas should be provided for young people to eat lunch and during break times when it's raining. There might be alternative activities for the young people to participate in, but also all young people should know the behaviour that's expected of them during wet break and wet play times. It should be clear in the school policy whose responsibility it is to clear the snow and ice from walkways so that children can move between lessons safely. Again, it also might be written into the school uniform policy to allow children to wear suitable footwear such as trainers or walking boots during their journeys to and from school. PSHE lessons should be used to teach pupils about the dangers of staying in the sun too long. Pupils should know what to do if they feel unwell as a result of exposure to the sun or cold. And pupils, parents and staff should be made aware through the school handbook where to get information in case the weather leads to school closure. Everyone can do something towards the health and safety management of schools. Pupils, as well as keeping to codes of conduct, must be encouraged to report potential hazards such as breakages and spillages. Teachers can check that work areas and equipment are safe and correct practices are followed, and where necessary, protective equipment is used. They must report defects to their heads of department or line manager. Heads of department or year must act on what's reported and check that the right procedures are in place. They can draw up departmental health and safety plans and review them on an annual basis. They can report problems to the head and arrange for staff training. The head teacher must take day-to-day responsibility for health and safety in the school and work with the Health and Safety Committee, the governing body, and where necessary, the LEA. In a separate programme, I focus on health and safety issues inside the school building. Here's a quick summary of my main points from this programme. Pupils should be supervised at the start and the end of the day, where there are a large number of vehicles. Access to site by cars should be restricted at certain times, and parents should be made aware of where they can pick up and drop off pupils. Pupils should be supervised while getting on or off a bus and should wait in a marked safety zone. A clear policy is needed to cover what to do if a bus fails to arrive. Sheltered areas should be provided in case of extremes of weather. Pupils should be aware of a code of conduct for each activity. Playing fields should be checked for hazards such as glass. The size of groups should be geared to the activity. Correct safety fencing should be installed and regularly checked. Safety signs should be clearly displayed. Building site safety should be discussed in tutor groups if building work is taking place on or near the school site. Pupils should be aware of the limits of the playground and where is out of bounds. Pupils should be adequately supervised, and both staff and pupils should know what to do in case of any accidents. Suitable indoor areas should be available in case of extreme weather, which brings me to the final issue. Pupils should be made aware of what to do if they feel ill as a result of heat or cold. In the case of ice or snow, pathways should be cleared and made safe, or otherwise access should be restricted. Sheltered areas should be available to escape strong sun as well as rain, and uniform policy should be flexible, for example to allow caps. As I said at the start, schools do provide a safe environment for children and staff. We've all got a responsibility to keep it that way.